What's up, everybody? It is, let's call it Tuesday, January the 27th, 2026, 11:55 a.m. Central Standard Time, Lower Alabama Time. I thought I would play a actual grown-up people's guitar for a little bit today, and also finish the splitting up of the Dark Tower presentation. So I thought I would just fire it up and get it going again. And if there's any points that I decide to stop and clarify, then I'll go ahead and do that. And yeah, so where we left off yesterday, we were talking about the wasteland, the actual wasteland in the story, which is sort of the bombed out, sort of like the area outside of the vaults in Fallout, or really sort of more accurately even would be where they go when the Time Authority sends someone away. They prune them out of existence, or where Deadpool and Wolverine went, whatever that place is called. That's the Wastelands. So it's not a place you really want to go to, and everywhere in the Gunslinger's world, realm wide, time is breaking down. Days are long or short or non-existent or strange or any number of different ways. The days and the time itself sort of slip and jerk like a worn transmission, I believe, is one of the descriptions that they give, that Stephen King gives about how time works, and it's shown up in multiple of the stories that he's written of time getting weird and slipping and moving around. And really, there's many themes in this whole series, this whole long story, that are repeating throughout the rest of the Stephen King stories. That's definitely worthy of some discussion for us literary folks. All the interconnections. Someone's already done it, I'm sure, you know, but maybe not from the same perspective. But either way, it is what it is. Everyone has a point of view, and I sure would like to hear y'all's. If you're interested in anything that's being discussed here, feel free to jump on into the comments. Let me fix my little ear thingy here, and let's just fire it up. Here we go. Poisoned and is completely effed. You don't even want to step out. It's the wasteland. And then there's Outworld, or Endworld. Endworld. And Endworld is where the Dark Tower is. And it appears to be extreme north. They have to go through a very cold area to get to it, so it appears to be extreme north. But the compass is in flux, so nobody really knows, because in his world the compass is in flux. The days are longer or shorter, however they want it. I would like to point out that also in the Gunslinger's world, the compasses will point towards the beam if you're near the beam, and the closer you get to the tower, the stronger the pull of the tower is, which is interesting because like I said, it just seems to be in the extreme north, because they have to go through tundra and Arctic sort of conditions to get to the Dark Tower. They pass through it and come out, and it's warmer, but they got to go through it. So the compass points. Seems like the compass would just always point towards the Dark Tower, right? But it's not true. It's not always in the directional north, it would seem, but it is the magnetic north, if that makes sense. However it goes, it's completely unpredictable. It might skip a day. Who knows what? Zombies come back to life. There's vampires and werewolves. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff, and it's falling apart. There are multiple encounters that the Gunslinger has with changelings, so were creatures, vampires, different demons and ghosts, other supernatural, haunted and possessed things, people, creatures, items. And in fact, one of the stories, Salem's Lot, that Stephen King wrote and was also a movie, the priest, Father Callahan, he shows up in the Dark Tower. And yes, I'm pointing at you, not the screen, directly at you. So Father Callahan pops up, and he's from a vampire story. And when he tells his story, which is a big part of the book, is people telling each other stories. Go figure. When he tells the story, one of the least surprised people is Roland Deschain, son of Stephen, the last gunslinger from the kingdom of Gilead in Inworld. Because he's done seen it all. He's been there and done that. And the story in The Wizard and Glass, the fourth book in this series, is the story of his youth, the time right before his trial of manhood to become a gunslinger, and then the subsequent adventure that happened after that. And that would be an excellent movie, in my opinion. Where's all the good movies? Well, there's one real good one, at least, inside of this story. And I don't even consider the film Gunslinger version to be part of this whole deal, so that's a whole different situation. But all of these things that seem so scary, that's just a regular life in the gunslinger's world. Vampires and werewolves and ghosts and all sorts of superstition and black magic and whatever you could imagine. Basically the Witcher type of stuff. Because like I said in previous video, he's essentially he's like a witcher, sort of, part of his job. He's got multiple different hats that he wears underneath that one. Let's continue. Because they have a saying in the book, the world has moved on, which is just stuff returning to entropy, falling apart. For instance, there's remnants, like I said, of our world in their world that seems to be the very distant past, because that world before, it moved on. Similar to the sculpture of that head sticking out of that rose garden there. The world moved on. Well, his world has moved on in his lifetime from being civilization and somewhat social and society and sort of kind of on the surface everything was normal to completely falling apart. The world moved on. Okay? And because the world moved on, everything's fallen apart. Everything has not been maintained. They don't know how to maintain it. There's very little that actually still works, and almost nothing that works the way it should, or that they understand how it should work. So it's very interesting. Their world has moved on. They all have... It's not even just amnesia. It's just that it's the world moved on. They look at life like a wheel. They have a saying, Ka is a wheel. And Ka is it's fate, and it's karma, and it's destiny, and it's life, and it's death, and it's all of that. And they say that it rolls because it's a wheel. So it all comes back around, and that's just sort of how everyone in his whole entire realm looks at things. Is Ka is a wheel, and you really can't escape your fate, and either you'll make it or you won't. But if it's your fate, you'll make it no matter what, and if it's not, you'll never get there, right? So the gunslinger lives by a strong code of honor, even though he does people dirty all the time. He's doing it to get to the top. Pause. So the gunslinger, Roland, he and his group, his group of cohorts, the kids born to his father's friends, the other gunslingers, they were all trained since they could walk in the ways of the gunslinger by an old and grizzled drill sergeant type of gunslinger named Court. And Court did his very best to break you. That was his whole job, to beat you as close to 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 incapacitation or death as possible, to starve you, to thirst you to death with dehydration, to lose you in the woods, to catch you being deceptive or lying and shaming yourself because of the honor thing, and also to not be able to keep secrets or to not be able to lie, because the honor was very important, but they also had to be able to lie and keep secrets for various reasons. And his whole job was to break these guys, and it was really hard on all of them. If it didn't work on you, and if you broke, they'd send you west. West was the worst place you could be sent, because west represented no civilization. It's every man for himself, and you're on your own when you get out there into the west. And if you got sent west, you could never return home, ever. Just couldn't do it. They'd kill you. And if you went west, then you would become an outlaw or a mercenary or die, most likely, or whatever you could do to survive. These guys were not the we're not the gang from Red Dead Redemption. You know, he's not Arthur Morgan. He's a whole lot smarter than Arthur Morgan. He's like Bruce Wayne, but without the suit. He's very intelligent and clever, and sees straight through people's BS, and also they're intimidated by him because of what he represents, so he usually can use that to his advantage. This dude ain't Arthur Morgan, okay? He's something totally different. A game of this, which would be amazing, would be a lot more like a Dark Souls game or Elden Ring, but with some six guns, and you wouldn't even shoot him that much because he didn't have but a limited supply of bullets. I mean, he's got two guns with two belts, one on each side, and that's how much bullets he's got. He's got like an extra box of shells that he gets from our world. That's the whole book. That's how many bullets he uses. It's like 50 and a strap on each leg. It's not that much, because the point wasn't shooting guns. And if they sent you west, there's almost no guns. So anybody who had a gun in the west probably killed someone to get it. And it probably ain't that good of a gun. But if they got one and they've survived, then they probably failed the gunslinger training and were sent west. The young Roland Deschain, last gunslinger, son of Stephen, out of the kingdom of Gilead, he met some of these outlaws, and definitely one of them was a sent west gunslinger candidate in training. All the rest of them were just his sort of posse, so that guy was more like Dutch. This guy ain't no Dutch, and he is definitely not also Arthur Morgan. And his honorableness and goodness would vary depending on which side of it you were on, because he might be part of your group, you might be part of his group, and if it meant that sacrificing you at the last minute, at the drop of a hat, got him closer to reaching the Dark Tower, well, I'm sorry, you're about to die. But everybody who's in his groups always knows that, because they know he's obsessed with it. So they're there even though. Wake up. So if they sent you west, you were going to be one of the badder people there if you survived. But still not against someone like this. Even against a child version of him, which is what he initially went up against one of these sent west individuals as when he was 12, 13 years old, when he just first became a gunslinger. sorry, let's continue. I thought I'd throw that in there. Being sent west was the worst thing that could happen. Power and try to save every universe, you know. So sometimes he breaks some eggs, but he is a good guy. He's sort of like Deadpool or Wolverine. He's an anti-hero, and everyone's afraid of him because he represents the old ways and the old law and the old magic. He doesn't really have any. He's got a little magic, but not much. And he's also got those guns. And man, this dude never misses. He doesn't shoot much, but he never misses. And if he throws a knife or a rock or whatever, he can shoot bows and arrows. I mean, whatever it is, he's gonna get you. And he's like 6'6", so he's big and scary too, apparently, you know, and very, very blue eyes, so that scares the people as well, because most people are mutants or are really malnourished and just it's sort of like Fallout outside the vault in his world after the world moves on. And he's normal. He doesn't have radiation poisoning or diseases or extra limbs or his skin falling off or anything like that. So he's scary to those people. Alright, so the world moved on, and let's see, there are remnants of our world in his world. Like I said, the turtle Maturin is the turtle that holds up everything, and he's also Pennywise's main enemy in It. Randall Flagg is actually another character in another book called The Stand, but he's in the Dark Tower too, as what's his name, Richard? Is his name Richard? It was Walter. It's always an RF. He's in several different books,
So it wasn't
as an
RF.
RF
Go figure.
named character, like begins with an R and begins with an F, and he's always a wizard or a trickster or something like that, you know. So let's see. There are analogous places and parallels within our world and the world specifically of the Dark Tower